All right. Looks like the entrants have slowed somewhat, so we'll go ahead and get things kicked off today. First of all, greetings everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Verra's final Stakeholder Update Webinar of 2024. My name's Hilary Navarro. I'm the Chief Communications Officer here at Verra, and I will be keeping us on time and on track as we move through our jam-packed agenda today. So as those of you who have been following us know, this is our fourth and final Stakeholder Update webinar of 2024, and excitingly is our first hosted by Verra's new CEO, Mandy Rambharos. So as such, we're going to kick off our agenda today with her introduction, and after that, she will move us through some important CEO updates before covering key takeaways from our 2024 stakeholder survey. That will then kick off the second half of our presentation today, where she'll hand the floor to a few of our colleagues to provide updates related to Verra's project review process, the digitalization initiative, the stakeholder support function, and the methodology update process. After that, Mandy will wrap things up with a few words and before ending with an open Q&A as per usual. So as a reminder to everyone who's joining us today, you can type your questions into the Q&A module at the bottom of the Zoom console at any time, and we'll get to those at the Q&A session. And in fact, we may even be able to answer some of your questions in writing during the session while the session is ongoing. So there's no need to hold on to your questions until the end if you have them. You can go ahead and put those in. So with that, it's now my pleasure to introduce you all to Mandy Rambharos, Verra's new CEO. In case you're not familiar with your background, I'll go over it quickly with you all. Mandy comes to Verra with more than 2 decades of experience in energy and climate. Before joining Verra, she served as a vice president for global climate cooperation at the Environmental Defense Fund, where she directed multilateral climate engagements and led initiatives to advance carbon markets and carbon pricing strategies. Mandy's career also includes a significant tenure at South Africa's Eskom Holdings, which is the largest electrical utility on the African continent. As general manager for Just Energy Transition, she was instrumental in developing Eskom's strategy to transition from a coal-dominated utility to a renewable energy leader. She was also a former negotiator for South Africa at the UN climate talks, where she co-chaired the successful outcome of Article 6 at COP26. So clearly, she brings a wealth of relevant and vital experience to her role at Verra, and we are very excited to have her. So without further ado, I will hand the floor over to Mandy.
Thank you so much, Hilary, and greetings to everybody on the call. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have approximately 1,000 plus registrants for this webinar, which is really a reminder of the work we do at Verra, that it matters to a lot of people, but also that a great number of people are important to us and the mission that we serve. I'm truly honored to lead Verra. It's such a critical time for the carbon market and the responsibility to strengthen every aspect of the VCM experience, from ensuring integrity through rigorous standards to fostering innovation and trust. These are the things that guide the decisions that I make at Verra every day. This is the lubricant that drives us. It is trust, it is integrity. And I take this role very seriously, knowing that the work that we do has a profound impact on global efforts towards tangible climate action and sustainability. So not just tangible climate action, but what is the ecosystem around that, socioeconomic upliftment and environmental protection. As we get into the agenda for today, I first want to start with some organizational updates and announcements. I'm sure that you've all seen and heard by now that we made the very difficult decision to reduce our workforce by approximately 25%. The cuts became effective this week. So it's been a really grueling week for us at Verra, a really difficult time. And while this has been a very difficult step, it was necessary to align our resources with our core priorities and ensure that we keep Verra agile in a very fast changing landscape. By realigning, we will ensure that we have better support for our stakeholders, absolutely maintain the rigor of our standards from an integrity and quality perspective that does not change, and to address our various challenges, including the speed of our responses. Our focus is on streamlining operations to deliver faster, more efficient outcomes, And again, without compromising on our high quality or integrity. On this call today, we will share some very specific developments that are leading us to an improved stakeholder experience in particular. And before we delve into that, I would like to mention a few other updates, programmatic updates that we have. On Monday, Verra published the red module for avoiding unplanned deforestation. The revised module is aligned with the criteria of ICVCM's CCP assessment framework. Earlier this month, we've also released 2 new tools in the VCS program that assess additionality of project activities, also designed to meet very important CCP requirements. On October 29th, we will release the much anticipated nature framework, a new asset methodology under Verra's SD Vista program, and a framework that will enable projects to quantify biodiversity outcomes from conservation and restoration activities, extremely important work. These will generate nature credits and importantly, mobilize critical finance that is required for these activities. To guide the rest of our agenda today, I'd like to share some key takeaways from our 2024 stakeholder survey, which I thought was an extremely important survey. And so thank you to approximately 450 people who took the time to complete the survey and give us your very honest feedback. Also, thank you for those of you that have reached out to me personally since I took on this role, emphasizing the same points that we saw in the survey. So what was the good? The good was the emphasis from various stakeholders on Verra's integrity, transparency, and accountability scores, which increased from last year, which is a trend we absolutely will protect and continue to grow. The release of Verra's new RED methodology and our ICVCM approval also received very positive recognition. And also many of you have seen our continual improvement efforts, and I encouraged us to continue with these efforts and to do more. As always, when there's good, there's also bad. The bad there were other areas of Verra where we've been falling short, and these have come through very loud and clear in the survey. And again, many of you raised this directly with me, either via email or when we met at New York Climate Week. Very importantly, we know that we need faster project reviews. We need to meet our first stated SLAs and then exceed these SLAs. It is important to emphasize again that faster does not equal to compromise on integrity. High integrity is still very much the priority. We need to keep delivering and deliver more in our digitalization initiative. We need better overall stakeholder engagement. Our stakeholders need to know who to contact, how best to reach them. And for example, our project proponents need regular, predictable, and responsive communications and support through all phases of a project lifecycle. We've heard you, and we want to make sure that we are addressing all of those. Finally, also, we need to improve how we release methodology updates to reduce market uncertainty and the burden on users. Given that these are very clear pain points with some of our key stakeholders, I thought we would want to use the webinar today to talk through what we have done and how we are going to address each of these areas. So very clear feedback that we've received, and I want to make sure that we are addressing these directly with detailed feedback and not just giving you a nebulous reply to some of these. We are going to start with the most urgent first and talk about our plans around Verra's project review process. I do also want to take this opportunity to introduce our new Chief Program Management Officer, Justin Wheeler. A lot of you are very familiar with Justin, who stepped into this role this week and brings with him more than 17 years of sectoral experience, having worked at Verra since 2022 as our Senior Director for the VCS Program Development, and then with the Government of Alberta for 17 years prior to that. His strong background, combined with strong knowledge of all things Verra, gives Justin a very solid foundation from which to take on this important and pressurizing role that he will take on for us. Justin, I'd like to hand the floor over to you to talk about Verra's new project review process. Thanks all.
Thank you, Mandy. for that introduction and warm welcome, and hi everyone. I've met many of you before in my previous role with Verra, and I look forward to continuing my work with you as I take on this new role. As Mandy mentioned, I've spent the past just over 2 years as the Senior Director of VCS Program Development at Verra, and this followed, or prior to that, I was with the Government of Alberta for just over 15 years. At the Government of Alberta, I led the implementation of North America's longest running industrial carbon pricing and emissions trading regulations and the renewable fuel standard regulations in Alberta. I also managed climate funding programs and spearheaded Alberta's federal and interjurisdictional climate policy interactions. As a registered professional engineer, I'm committed to leveraging my expertise in support of projects using Verra's standards in my new role as Chief Program Management Officer. I'd also like to mention that joining me in this pursuit is longtime Verran Julie Baruti. Julie has recently also joined the Program Management Department to serve as our Senior Director of Certification. She brings over 15 years of industry expertise to this role, having previously led innovation and standards development efforts at Verra. Both Julie and I decided to step into these roles because the work of Verra's Program Management Department is so critical. We exist to support and enable the great projects around the world. We're dedicated to accelerating climate action and sustainable development, which is what our project proponents and their community partners are doing day in and day out, with the vital support of investors and credit buyers. I've spent my career enabling ambitious climate action, and I chose Verra and accepted this role because I honestly believe there's no better way to get us to the sustainable future that we so urgently need. The issues that our project proponents face are no secret. As Mandy just mentioned, the results of that survey are not new. And we know that the delays in Verra's project reviews have caused real challenges to your important work. I also know that the announcement around Verra's restructuring is raising questions about what impacts these changes will have on Verra's project review times. So that's what I plan to address today. As some of you who follow our stakeholder updates may know, we've been conducting an in-depth assessment of our existing project review architecture. This assessment gave us a comprehensive understanding of the ways that we can streamline our project review process while maintaining the integrity and rigor that you expect and the market needs from Verra. As a result, I'm pleased to announce that next week, we'll begin rolling out a new risk-based approach, or RBA as we're calling it, for project reviews. This approach is designed to substantially reduce review cycle times, optimize our process efficiency while maintaining the rigorous standards and ensure quality and integrity in the system. I'm not going to go into all the details of the risk-based approach today, but I do want to highlight a few key elements. The first is a classification system. So not every project is going to be reviewed exactly the same. Under the RBA, each project review request will be classified as low, medium, or high risk based on several criteria such as size and complexity. And this will guide our review intensity. So number two is we tailor the review intensity. The scrutiny and standard operating procedures of our review process will correspond directly to the determined risk level for that review. We'll be revising review approaches at each level to focus on key risk areas and scrutinize, for example, registration or project design reviews more carefully, and that will lessen the risk at verification reviews that follow that. The third is streamlined checklists. So analyzing Verra's rich historical review process data, we've been able to significantly streamline our review checklists. This allows us to focus our resources on the most critical elements for each risk level and project type. This will allow us to maintain rigor where it matters most, while reducing potential redundancies and administrative burden. And Joe will get into this a little bit later, but we're also leveraging new technologies more to streamline the overall process. I want to emphasize that while we're making our process more efficient, we remain fully committed to maintaining the highest standards of quality and integrity that you expect from Verra. The RBA clearly identifies where high levels of scrutiny are needed and allows us to focus our resources in those areas. Remember that Verra's reviews happen after each project description or monitoring report has been audited by an independent third-party validation verification body. We're not repeating those audits. We're ensuring that those VVBs have done their job in confirming all projects meet all program rules and requirements. And we're continuing to invest in VVB training and capacity building for improved performance. The biggest things that you can do to complement the things we're doing and reduce review time for projects is ensure that your auditor does a thorough job. Double check all the documents that you're submitting to us, including the validation and verification reports from your auditors, and ensure they are clear, complete, and have high quality before you submit them. When we do raise findings, which happens regularly, it's helpful if you can address those in a timely manner so that we can reduce the overall duration of the process. So the process improvements are all well and good, and I know you've heard similar things from us in the past, but I'm sure you're thinking, what does this actually mean for you? What are the results that we can expect? By implementing the RBA, we expect a reduction in overall cycle time from request receipt to findings communication and finally to project review decisions. This means faster turnaround times without compromising quality. We'll begin implementing the RBA next week. We'll then assess the data, starting right after next week, on how the new process is impacting cycle times. We'll continue to fine-tune the process as needed. We expect to be able to hit all of our current and established service level agreements, or SLAs, by the end of this year. Then, as Mandy mentioned, we expect to continue shortening the SLAs after that. We're committed to transparency in this process, so we will communicate with you monthly via our stakeholder newsletter on our progress against our SLAs and on any adjustments to these SLAs once we meet them and start to tighten them. So in terms of takeaways, if you walk away from this presentation remembering just 3 things, I hope they are: number 1, we hear your concerns, we recognize that they're serious, and we're mobilizing specific efforts to address them. Number 2, after months of groundwork, historical analysis, architecture development, we're making major changes starting next week to tighten our review times despite the workforce reduction without compromising quality. And number 3, we will report back to you regularly on progress against our SLAs and improvements to these SLAs as the data from the new process comes in. I'll close this for today by expressing my sincere enthusiasm for the opportunity to support our projects at this pivotal time for our program and for the broader markets. Hilary, I'll hand the floor back to you.
Thank you so much, Justin, and congratulations again on your new role within Verra. So the second point that Mandy mentioned after the project review was our digitalization initiative. And so to give an update on that, I'm going to hand the floor to Joe, our Chief Technology Officer.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hilary. And hi, everyone. As the stakeholder survey revealed, and as Mandy shared, we need to keep delivering and deliver more on our digitization initiative. And in demonstrating our commitment to that, I'm very excited to share today, and as posted on the Verra website, that we have achieved a significant milestone on our digitization journey and our digital revolution by launching our digital project submission tool. As shown below, we have launched the first 8 methodologies spanning VCS, SD, Vista, and plastics programs. The tool is accessible from the Verra Project Hub and can be initiated by selecting project descriptions from the project folders dropdown. You may notice that a couple of these methodologies are undergoing revisions and updates, and our plan is to have the new versions in digitized format as they become available. So we expect the digital project submission tool to provide many benefits. First, let me start by thanking many of you who have participated in our initial pilot over the summer. We received really great feedback that helped to improve the user interface and flow and conducted very thorough internal testing. As you know, there are complexities to the methodologies that we needed to validate and ensure the system works as expected. So I'd like to call out a few features that the digital project submission tool provides. One, and this can be seen from the screenshot here, there's a guided selection of digitized methodologies by Verra program. I think you'll like the VCS process in particular, knowing that there's some complexities to navigating that methodology. On the right is also a list of the different methodologies that have been digitized, and you can select those right away. So digitization offers several things. One, auditability and traceability. Changes can be tracked, and there's visibility regarding who made the updates. Changes can be saved and returned to later, and there is increased data integrity and accessibility. It's all in the system. We've also introduced a calculation engine for calculating emission reductions and removals, or ERRs, for a given crediting period. Early on, project proponents have been able to find errors in calculations that would have gone undetected previously. Next slide, please. So the digitized methodologies facilitate the accurate and streamlined creation of project documents. Templates collect all the project details required for a given methodology, including the generation of a monitoring report, which you can see in the middle of the screen there. The tool also enables validation and verification bodies, or VVBs, as Justin alluded to, the ability to access records for their designated projects, create the needed validation and verification reports, and submit them for review by Verra. While we have developed a comprehensive user guide, which is accessible on our website, our hope is you'll find the tool intuitive and straightforward to use. And as shown on the screen here, whoops, if you go back for just a moment, you can see, it's very visible what the steps that are required. So for instance, if you want to create a monitoring report, select monitoring report, or create new monitoring report over there off to the right. Great. So we are eager to capture your experiences using the new tool and plan to continue introducing new digitized methodologies in the coming weeks and months. We want you to give it a try. So our goal is to demonstrate that having all the data in electronic format will expedite the review process. We are actively partnering with Justin and his team to achieve that goal, and are also working on some internal tools that will help them to accelerate the review process as well. And you can see project review reports are one of those tools that will be created and help to resolve issues from an online experience. Our digital revolution will not be achieved by the digital project submission tool alone, and we are actively piloting digital monitoring, reporting, and verification, or DMRV, with a number of different parties with a goal to certify DMRV capable participants, providing the ability to fully digitize the project submission and verification processes through APIs. Very excited about that. And we're actively soliciting DMRV feedback and thoughts via our VCS version 5 public consultation. There's a link to that there, and we would certainly welcome your feedback and insights. I hope I've been able to gain your excitement in leveraging our new tool. And for those interested, you can reach out to hubsupport@verra.org, and our team will be happy to help get you started. I'd like to close with a testimonial from Camilla over at Timbichi. They've been great partners and working with my team and the broader Verra organization, and as demonstrated here, modernizing and digitizing this process brings numerous benefits, including the significant advantage of increased efficiency, requiring much less time for credit generation. This automation accelerates, stimulates, and has the immense potential to transform the dynamics of the carbon credit market, directly contributing to greater planetary sustainability and the advancement of public carbon credit policies. So it's a fantastic testimonial. It certainly has taken a lot of hard work to get us to this point. And I'm very excited about continuing our digital revolution and the journey ahead. And I really encourage you to reach out to myself or the team on Project Hub support at verra.org. And we are very excited to partner with you and demonstrate how these new digital tools and technologies can help improve our processes overall. Thank you very much for your time. And now back over to you, Hillary.
Thank you, Joe. So I'm actually going to be taking the next substantive update, and it will be on the topic of Verra's overall stakeholder engagement and communications. So as Mandy mentioned in the beginning, we know that we need better overall stakeholder engagement. We know our stakeholders need to know who to contact and for what. And we know that all of our project proponents need better communications through all phases of the project lifecycle. So to drive the needed change in this area, as part of Verra's larger restructuring, we are going to combine several teams to form a new department, which is titled Communications and Stakeholder Relations, which I will be leading. So I'll go from leading just the communications department to leading a new communications and stakeholder relations department. And with this move, our relationship with project proponents and with all of our stakeholders will become more communications centric. It's going to take some time at the outset to transition the teams. We will need to do an audit. We're going to need to set up standard operating procedures, but I'd like to share a little bit of our vision for what the future will look like in this regard. Next slide, please. So our vision is that project proponents will receive more transparent updates on the status of their projects throughout the review process. We also envision that account management will be strengthened in general, which will ensure that every project proponent receives timely responses and ongoing support. And as part of this, we'll be exploring how to set up clarification meetings when appropriate between technical staff and project proponents. We know this is something that you've been asking for a long time, and this is something my team will be taking on. We also envision that there will be education and training programs, much more of those, equipping you and all of our stakeholders with the knowledge and tools they need to navigate Verra's sometimes complicated systems effectively and smoothly. So ultimately, we hope that we envision that this realignment will strengthen our commitment to client success while maintaining a high level integrity. And my team is going to exist to answer your questions and support you in your journey from project design to issuance and beyond. So as I step into this new lead role, my promise to you is that we are intentionally going to be making every engagement with Verra better. And we are designing the architecture of this vertical now as we speak, in my head and on paper, and look forward to sharing more details with you as that unrolls. So that's it for me. More coming on this. This is obviously a very, very important piece of our vision moving forward. And so there'll be more coming soon. But for now, I'm going to invite Toby Jensen-Smith, who's our Chief Program Development and Innovation Officer, to provide updates on the last point, which is improving methodology update processes. Toby?
Thank you, Hilary. Great to be here on the webinar. Thanks everyone for joining. So I'm just going to focus a little bit on our VCS methodology update process and improvements we're making there to reduce some of the challenges that we've heard project developers and others are facing. So we've certainly heard feedback from many of you that the frequency of our updates and the changes to our VCS methodologies are pain points for the market. And this also came out as a theme in the recent stakeholder survey. Obviously, we remain committed to innovating to further improve the methodology development process, including to ensure the integrity of the maths and incorporate the latest science and technology. And that's essential, I think, to make sure that we're serving the market and that we have the highest quality of the maths and the resulting credits. We've also recognizing that we've released more frequent updates lately, and that's due to changes needed to achieve ICBCM approval. We mentioned some of those earlier with earning CCP labeling or compliance with some of the new releases. So that's been work and resulted in new updates. Also to enable reduction and removal labeling, which is something that the market has really wanted, and we've had to make updates to accommodate that in the methodologies. And to address integrity issues as we review methodologies, always tightening and improving there. And then finally, to close out some long-running methodology development issues that we've been trying to address. So those have been ongoing, and those we expect, or that process and the frequency of those updates to taper off naturally. Having said that, we're committed to, basically stepping back and taking a comprehensive view of our methodology development and review process to identify areas for improvement. And we've already been testing a number of those, and some of you may have seen the results of that in some of the updates we released recently, and we're going further with that, and I'll mention a little bit about those efforts. So far, we introduced over a year ago the methodology idea note, which gives projects, proponents, and methodology developers the opportunity to submit new ideas early on that we can review and start to consolidate ideas rather than fragmenting different methodologies and the development of those. We post all of our maths under development on our website, not just for transparency, but also to help stakeholders plan so they know what's coming. And what we've done last month, we've announced that we're pausing the review of new methodology idea notes until Q1 of next year. And that's so we can better allocate our resources and serve the existing methodologies and the development of those. Another action we've been taking is we're testing a Verra-led approach where Verra manages the contractors directly and co-develops with internal experts to speed up methodology development. We find we can do that more efficiently and have higher quality results and less disruptive results in the market. And we've already tested that model and it's proven successful for recent updates for RED, afforestation, reforestation, and cook stoves. And we'll continue to do more Verra-led approaches going forward for maths. We've also piloted alternative validation and verification body and technical expert reviews, and we're streamlining methodology development generally. A good example of this is the new RICE methodology, which Verra also led, and that took less than a year from concept note to approval. So we're speeding up how fast we develop the methodologies due to this new management and sort of oversight and leadership role that Verra is playing. And then finally, we've been testing alternative grace periods to provide more flexibility for existing projects based on the particular methodology in hand. A good example of that is VM47, afforestation, reforestation, revegetation, and projects that are using the older CDM AR methodology were given 3 months to list as under validation and 1 year to complete validation. And we've just extended that to 18 months in recognition that there's some VVB capacity constraints and we don't want to unfairly burden proponents that might have a hard time getting through in time. So those are good examples of what we've been doing to test, and we're going to be rolling out and amplifying those across all of our methodology development in Verra. So you'll start to see the impacts and value of that as we go forward. Also to mention, we're working to codify a number of these and other innovations in the VCS version 5 program rules and procedures. And we'll be consulting with you all on that shortly. And we're proposing to consolidate revisions where possible to reduce the frequency of updates. So that's something we know is a pain point. While we have to maintain the freshness and integrity of methodologies, we'll be trying to consolidate so that there's fewer methodology updates coming out that might appear more fragmented. We're also adjusting program policies with grace periods and grandparenting while ensuring integrity, but trying to create less disruption for existing projects. So for example, we're extending the grace period for completing validation for new maths from 6 to 12 months, so doubling that. And for grandparenting, we're going to allow renewals or reassessments under the current methodologies for longer periods. So that's something that you'll see too in the upcoming consultation. So just to summarize, we've heard your concerns about the challenges associated with frequent methodology updates and some of the associated processes, and we are committed to addressing those and already have been working hard, and you'll see some of those rolling out in the future. Back to you, Hilary.
Thank you, Toby. I'm going to hand the floor back to Mandy now for some final thoughts, and then we will transition into Q&A.
Great, thank you, Hilary, and thank you, Justin, Toby, Joe, and Hilary for all your substantive updates as well. And as you can see, we have listened to you. We've taken that stakeholder survey to heart and are implementing changes to address all of that. So we are entering a new chapter, and it is one that demands great focus and great innovation. And the plan is to strengthen every facet of our organization to meet your needs as you've expressed to us, but also meet the needs of the evolving market, not just now, but in the future. And it will take some time. Some of these changes will take some time to manifest results that you will see. and some of them you will see more immediately. So do we, appreciate you working with us and walking with us along this path as we implement these changes. I know you also appreciate that our work at Verra is more than just developing methodologies and our programs and our standards. It's also about how do we create sustainable pathways for sustainable development, for social upliftment, and for environmental protection, but also for real measurable climate action. And I do believe that we can achieve this together. All of us as stakeholders in this area, in this market, we can achieve that together. And I am really inspired by the role that we play in enabling financial flows to where it is needed. If you haven't yet seen our impact videos, there are videos on the projects that we have in various countries by the project proponents, by the project stakeholders that are involved, by the communities. I encourage you to look at them because it really does show what we are doing and how it impacts people on the ground. We are rooted in rigor. And with committed, brilliant, agile team that we have, we will continue to lead the way in making the carbon market stronger, more dependable, and more impactful than ever before. We can't do this alone, so we really do thank you all for your trust and your partnership. I've said this before when I first encountered some of you in person and others on calls, is that my door is always open to our stakeholders. Please feel free to reach out to anybody on the team and to me as well. I'm very happy to hear your feedback and take it to heart in shaping how we take Verra forward. And I really do look forward to building this future with all of you. So back to you, Hilary, and Hilary will lead us in a Q&A session.
Excellent. Thank you, Mandy. So just to recap for everyone, if there's 4 things to remember about the many presentations today, they would be, number 1, a new project review process is rolling out next week, which we envision will reduce processing times without impacting process integrity. 2, the digital project submission tool is live now in Verra's Project Hub. It's ready to be used to streamline your project submissions, and we encourage you to use it. Number 3, relationships with stakeholders are a top priority moving forward, especially with our project proponents, and we are restructuring around that central idea moving forward. And 4, the methodology update process is being streamlined for greater certainty and less frequent changes. So with that, I'd like to kick off the Q&A. We have a lot of Q&As in here today. As a reminder, if you have not yet put in your answer, you can do so, put in your question, you can do so down in the Q&A section located at the bottom of your Zoom console. So to kick us off today, probably unsurprisingly, a lot of questions for you, Justin, a lot of questions on the risk-based approach that you reviewed. Quite a few of them are just concerns about, you're saying you're going to speed up process times, but you're also cutting 25% of staff. How do you square that? You covered that somewhat in your presentation, Justin, but I think it's worth reiterating some of your main points there.
Yeah, thank you, Hilary. And I think some of those questions came before I presented, so hopefully I answered it, but it is worth reiterating. So first of all, the staff reductions, there were some reductions in PMD. No department was spared from that, so that is part of the reality. The risk-based approach is specifically designed to allocate our existing resources to the reviews to complete our reviews within the timelines. So we're still reviewing every project to a different extent depending on the risk. But yes, we expect the risk-based approach to compensate for the reduction in staff capacity and still be able to hit our SLAs by the end of this year. Back to you, Hilary.
Thank you for that. We did receive a question also on continuity around the departure of many Verra colleagues. So there was a question on whether the list of cut employees would be made public. Will there be good email continuity so email correspondents do not go dead? Mandy, do you want to take that one?
Sure, happy to address that. I think there were a couple of concerns around continuity and what happens with Verra staff that you were engaging with that may have now no longer be with us. So what we are doing, and Joe can talk more about the technicalities of this, but we are ensuring that all mailboxes have been delegated to somebody else on the team that will absolutely deal with that. So there won't be any loss of emails, there won't be any loss of conversations, and there will be continuity in that respect. So those email inboxes have been taken over by other members of the team. In terms of a list, so we are unable to make a list available because we have to protect the privacy of all of our staff that have left. And, that is not something from various aspects that we can make available publicly. So that list will not be made publicly. But as you deal with staff within Verra that are continuing to address your queries and to address any communications that you may have been having with us, you will come to know who has left and who is no longer with us. Thanks, Henry.
Great. All right, another one is there a list of which project methodologies Verra is currently piloting DMRV tools for? I think you can take that, Joe.
Sure, thanks, Hillary. So on our website, we have resources. So if you go to verra.org and click on resources and then methodologies, by the end of today, we will publish those methodologies that we've enabled from a digital perspective. So the 8 I referenced earlier, as well as those that we're testing in UAT. And that information will be available at the end of the day today.
Great. I think there was another question. Yes, here's another question for you, Joe, while you're in the hot seat. Exciting to see the digital project submission. How is Verra selecting which methodologies to digitize the process for?
That is actually a great question. So the goal is obviously adoption of these new digital methodologies. So we've looked at usage patterns over the last couple of years. And so we focused first on those on those methodologies that are most frequently used. And so that's what's guiding our priority. But again, we're eager to hear your feedback. And so if there's methodologies out there that you're eager to try, we're putting our roadmap together for 2025 and would love your feedback as well.
Great. Here's another question. What is Verra's long-term vision for the public availability of project data and documentation as the digital workflows and DMRV tools are integrated? I don't know if anyone would want to take that one or if we can get back to them.
So I'll take a first shot at answering that. So project data today is publicly available. I think especially from a marketplace perspective, the challenge is how to integrate that with other systems. And so what we're currently evaluating are the use of APIs to share data with different marketplace providers, which will not only enable transparency in data, but usage and adoption by other organizations.
Great. All right. I think more keep coming in for you, Joe, the more you talk. Is the digital platform available for anyone to submit potential projects and cross-check the roadmap for project development?
So the platform is, for the 8 methodologies that we digitized, it's live and it's ready to use. We have a number of other methodologies that are in UAT or user acceptance testing. And our plan is to continue to launch those through the remainder of this year. We'll update that information on our website, as well as provide more public announcements in regards to that.
Great. All right, here's another one. This might be for you, Justin. Will the new consolidated RED Plus methodology and resulting credits hold the CCP tag?
Yeah, so the decision on what is eligible for a CCP tag is made by ICVCM at their board meetings. We have been participating in the multi-stakeholder working group process and the subsequent evaluation process for that methodology. The update to VMD 55 was made specifically to address some of the topics that were raised at that working group. So we do anticipate a decision coming soon on that, but we can't speak for the ICVCM. We have to wait until that decision is communicated by them.
Okay. Another question on our plastics program. Someone is asking, is there a specific impact of the cuts on our plastic program? And if so, can we give details? Who would want to take that one?
I can speak to it from a program management side if that's helpful. So I mean, the workforce reductions were made across all of our teams and programs. The updates that I spoke of at PMD for our review process are also applicable to the plastics program. So we do continue to have staff to support that program and continue to expect full implementation and to meet our SLAs for that program as well as VCS.
Great. All right, here's another question on the RBA. As Verra is now planning to apply RBA for project reviews, what additional safeguards is Verra taking to ensure that validation and verification activities performed by VVBs are robust and address stakeholder concerns?
Yeah, thank you for this question. It's super important. So in our last, I think it was actually in the last Stakeholder Update webinar, we spoke about the VVB performance management framework. The risk-based assessment process and the VVB performance management framework very much go hand in hand. So we continue to significantly focus on ensuring performance of our VVBs, and that includes both kind of the compliance side, enforcing and referring to accreditation bodies, things like that if necessary, but also the upfront side, providing better training and support to VVBs to make sure that they understand the rules and the expectations of them. But each of you have a role in this too. If you're doing a project and you're hiring an auditor, make sure that you're hiring an auditor that's qualified for your region and your project type. Give them sufficient time to do their work properly, give them access to the information, and take a close read of all the reports that they're producing, because that's what we're reviewing when we review from our side. So the more scrutiny and clarity you provide up front, the better the reviews will be on our side.
Great. Thank you, Justin. Here's one. Are the rating agencies, B0, Verra, in the list of your stakeholders? Do you collaborate with them?
Yes, Hillary, I'd be happy to take that. So absolutely, B0, Verra, Calyx, and others are key stakeholders in the market and to Verra and the impact we're trying to achieve. We do engage with those entities, and we think they're adding a lot of value. The rating agencies, they can go very deep on particular project quality issues that clients or others in the market want to dig into. And what they produce, both in terms of project analysis, but also more generally, is very helpful to inform things that we might want to do on our standards or methodology side. So, for example, if issues are starting to emerge across a set of projects that we could address through giving more clarity in a particular methodology, or tightening a requirement, or updating with the latest science, those are things we can then use their inputs to address on our program and methodology side to us keep at the forefront of integrity and innovation. So yeah, very helpful work and complementary to what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Toby. While you're talking, there's another one for you. I had a hard time following the updates regarding grace periods. Can you please clarify this once more?
Justin, do you want to, sorry to push that over to you, but you're closer to this from your previous role.
Yeah, wearing my old hat or my second hat. So I don't know if they're asking about the VM47 or more generally on grace periods. I think the first thing to say, which is not always well understood, every time we inactivate or update a methodology, we provide a grace period on the application of that updated methodology, so that if someone is in the process of doing a verification or validation, they have some time to complete that. The standard grace period currently in the rules is 6 months. So from the time that a new version is released, somebody would have 6 months to complete a validation. That applies currently to both registrations and renewals or baseline reassessments. What we're proposing, and this will go to consultation, so more details will be public. We've already tested extending those grace periods. So the example of VM47 was given, where we give a longer time for the validation and for listing as under validation. and we're extending that even a little bit more just based on feedback and VVB capacity. So we're proposing extending the front-end grace period for new projects to at least 12 months, but open to consultation, looking for feedback on that. And then for existing projects that are coming up to baseline assessment or renewal, we're proposing, rather than that same grace period applying, giving a longer grace period for those project transitions. So 3 years was the example that was in the slide. That's not effective immediately. That's something we'll take out to consultation. And for the grace period for your specific methodology, please do refer to that methodology and that release, because it's always on the website for that method.
Great. All right, a lot of questions still coming in here. Trying to scroll through them all. There's a lot of questions, Justin, on just how around the risk element of the RBA that you discussed. They're wanting to know if people are asking if they can see the risk criteria, how is the risk level in project determined? And a lot of this is insider baseball for us, but is there anything that you can say on that?
Yeah, I think what we can say is generally the criteria are not going to be a surprise to anyone. So things such as size and complexity and location and history on the project. If you've had past complex findings, then we're going to take a close look the next time around. The exact criteria we are not going to publish, and that's not because we're trying to hide anything, but it's because it is inside baseball. Just like the police, you post a speed limit, but you don't tell them where the speed trap is going to be. It's part of our enforcement process to maintain some flexibility in applying kind of regulatory professional judgment on where we apply our efforts to try to identify the risks as best we can and deal with issues as they emerge. So we'll give more general information on the RBA publicly than just this webinar. Update the registration and issuance process, that sort of thing. But we're not going to publish the exact list of criteria and the exact changes to the checklist, because that's our business as a quality assurance program.
Thank you, Justin. Here's another one, maybe good for you, Mandy. Many project proponents struggle with the interpretation of Verra's findings, clarifications, different perspectives, etc. Is the vision for the new stakeholder engagement, is there room to get more clarity when findings can be interpreted in multiple ways?
Thanks, Hilary. And this question also came up when I met with the Project Developer Forum, and very important to address. So absolutely, that is part of the plan going forward in terms of improving our communication, is to have what I've been calling clarification meetings. So very defined scope of what that meeting will be about, what that discussion will be about. Is it, if there's anything lost in translation between Verra, the project developers, and the VVBs, we absolutely are going to start having those clarification meetings. But as you know, there could be conflict of interest, so we have to be very defined boundaries around those conversations.
Right. Here's a question, Anil, on Verra's revised fee structure, if you could take this one. Will the revised Verra fees be payable even if SLA timelines are not met? The increased cost is quite substantial when many developers are significantly delayed in their issuance processes, yet will need to pay more in the future.
Yeah, so the revised fee structure, I mean, it's a great question. We're launching it in phases. The first fee structure goes effective around December 1st, and the plan is the remaining fee go effect on January 1st. And also, I just want to also reiterate, although it's laid out in the fee structure, that we've been very careful. There are some new fee that we're starting, and but we've been careful regarding who the fee gets charged to. So all the fee that are in the fee structure are not payable by project proponents. There are some fee like transfer fee or retirement fee of the credits that are paid by the buyers or the sellers. But to answer this question, yes, I mean, there is some allowance that we will give to the projects that are already registered, but in generally, the fee structure does go effect on January 1st for all the new projects that will be coming in to us.
Thank you. Here's another one. I'm not sure who would be the best to take this, but why is VM 00010 not being considered in the IFM methodology review for ICVCM?
Yeah, I can speak to that again with my old hat. So the VM10 was withheld from our original application last November. So there's information in that release or announcement about our application on why it was withheld. Essentially, there were some integrity concerns with some project subtypes in that methodology, and we were in the process of making updates. So we didn't want the version that was current at that time to be submitted. Those updates will be released this Friday. So once we make that release, we will be in contact with ICVCM to request review of that methodology. So you can look forward to more information on that on this Friday. And feel free to email our methodologies team if you have specific questions on that methodology.
I think you can answer this one as well, Justin. What project review times are we aiming for? I think you sort of addressed that in the presentation, but maybe worth reiterating.
Yeah, now you've caught me flat-footed. I don't actually have our SLAs open in front of me. They are posted on our website, so I'll dig them up and put them in a response to the question so that it's there. My apologies.
Yeah, I would say that the short-term goals around the RBA going live next week is to hit our existing SLAs. That's
Yeah.
the goal, that we would meet our existing SLAs by the end of the year, and then actually start to beat them and start to make those SLAs more aggressive. But the hard part for us now is until this process is rolled out and until we're able to collect the data of how long the process is taking with how long projects are taking under the new process, we're not able to accurately shift our SLAs at this point. But hopefully
Hillary,
soon.
I think
Yeah.
that was covered in my talking points and Justin's as well. And Justin literally took on this role yesterday. So kudos to Justin for being able to field all of these questions as well. But it's exactly that. We know we're not meeting existing SLAs, service level agreements, and we are going to look at what that trend has been. We've got the data in looking at what that delay has been and how we're going to fix that. And then so meeting the current SLAs is an immediate goal, and then improving on those as we go forward, obviously, also. So Justin has a lot of work ahead of him.
Yeah, and there was maybe one other related question on when will we apply the RBA and whether it applies to existing projects. So we will start to apply it to requests that are already in the review cycle as well next week. It's a phased application, so it's starting next week, and then we'll continue to incorporate it in detail over the coming month.
Great. So I think we have time for just one more question, and then we're going to have to end the webinar today. This is on VVBs. Does Verra have published? Has Verra published any procedure or standard on monitoring of VVB performance and follow-up actions on performance that are available to the public?
So there is some information on our website about the VVB performance management system. It doesn't include a report card on each VVB at this point. We have produced those first rounds of report cards and communicated those to the VVBs and told them where we expect to see performance improvements. We've also been in touch with the accreditation bodies on exactly the type of information that they would like to see to help them do their job in accrediting and maintaining accreditation of VVBs. So it's a future phase to provide kind of more, probably still a little bit genericized performance data on VVBs. But please do have a look at our website and even the past webinar on the VVB performance management framework for more information on that.
All right. And that takes us to the top of the hour, which is the end of our time today. I want to thank everyone for participating and asking questions. As a reminder, this slide deck and also a recording of the presentation will be available on Verra's website and also on our YouTube channel. And as far as future updates and webinars, we'll be revamping our webinar program and training program in the new year. So stay tuned for what's next from Verra in that regard. Thank you guys for all your time today. Thank you for the panelists for your presentations, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.